Wow, wow. I guess, after it's all said and done, we've all had a lot of luck in our lives.
Oh yeah, that could have been the dumbest decision I ever made. When I saw those tires coming at me, I said, well, maybe not.
But see, you had the proof of your convictions, and you lived to tell the tale.
Yep, yep. And that, accompanied by a couple of other little things. We had a collision on the ship, and it should have exploded, but it didn't. That was one thing. That's kind of a long story. Then there was the one where, if you've done the military, if you know what a rock eye is, I had an accident with a rock eye on an aircraft carrier one time, and I had they're filled with it's an anti-personnel bomb, and they were little grenades inside this rock eye that looked like practice bombs, little things. You're not supposed to know what they look like. Unfortunately, they look like little practice bombs. Anyway, I've got these little grenades all over my feet, and EOD guy came out and pinned all these things and got me out of there intact. If one of those had gone off, all the whole hangar bay 1 was filled with rock eyes. That Vietnam thing. But anyhow, it was just cram-packed full of rock eyes, stacked 8 or 10 feet tall, all over the place. And it would have made the Forrestal fire look like a weenie roast. So this year, believe it or not, after all these years, this year, I'm sitting in church, Thanksgiving, and the preacher says, anybody want to say something that you're thankful for? I told these stories and laughed about them on the radio and in person and like we're doing right now, and never thought anything of it. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that I really ought to be thankful for 2 or 3 things. So I told them about that. First time I've ever thought about it. Anyway, that's interesting how you can go through all those years and just not give it a thought. WY4C.
KC9VKV. Well, I guess the first few years after an incident like that, you go through repression. You don't want to think about it because you realize if you do, you'll have to have nightmares about it. So you just put it out of your mind, and then later on in life you can look at it more objectively and not feel the heat of the fire, so to speak, so much that you can rationalize how lucky you were.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm dumb enough to not give it a thought. I don't know what the deal was, but I'm kind of like that, I guess. I don't. There are things that bother me, but not physical things like that. I know that when you're accidents can happen when you're loading that many bombs. We were running 24-hour Alpha strikes in 1972 and what they called Operation Linebacker 2 in Vietnam on the USS Saratoga out in the Tonkin Gulf, and it was just, I don't know, you got all this going on. You know there's going to be an accident sometime. You don't know if the bombs are going to be laying on your feet, but you know something's going to happen. But I don't know. I just didn't react. Some people would have seen them there and jumped back, and that would have killed everybody on Hangar Bay 1 at least. But I just looked down through there, and you saw there's these, the inside of a rock eye that you're not supposed to see. The back bulkhead of the bomb has a little stud sticking out with a hole in it, and that there is a welded ring on that thing. Then from there's some heavy wire, looks like they're cadmium plated, and they go through all these little grenades, little bomb-looking grenades. And when it's made out of very thin sheet metal, and when it falls apart, when it breaks apart, it's supposed to cover a pretty good area. Anyway, it would mess up everybody on a football field probably. but or most of the folks, and all those pins go through all those wires go through those pins, and when they stick it through there, they nip the thing off with some sort of hydraulic or pneumatic wire cutter, bolt cutter kind of thing, because it was heavy wire. And there's a burr on the end of the piece of wire. And at least 3 of those little grenades, I could see clearly that the only thing keeping them from going off was that little burr on the end of the wire was the only thing holding them. And, buddy, you better believe I did not move at all.
Roger, Roger. That was better known as cluster bombs?
Yeah, it's rock eyes. That's what they are. You got the cluster bomb.
Roger, Roger. Yes, you were extremely lucky there to have been in that situation and not have those go off, have the knowledge and the fortitude to freeze.
Well, or whatever. I don't know what you call it. Numbness. I don't know what you call it. I walked away from that when the guy pinned the bombs that were laying on my feet, and he pinned those and told me to back away. I backed away, and I walked into the shop right over there, and the one guy that worked with me was in the shop. I said, well, that was an interesting thing, and I told him about it, But I don't know. I don't know what you would call that. Too dumb to think that quick, or something. I don't know. Don't know. The time when we had the collision, we were in the Malaccan Straits, and we were in NCOM Alpha, which means that there are no lights allowed on deck, so that you can't be seen visually, and there's no RF transmissions allowed, so that you're undetected going through the straits. And we must have been pretty invisible, because a ship called the Cactus got in front of us, and we ran over him, and busted a big hole in the side of the Midway. You can look this up on the internet. It's the SS Cactus was the freighter, and the USS Midway was the aircraft carrier, and the collision photographs and everything are on the internet. But anyway, there was this big hole in the side that busted a hole in the forward LOX plant, liquid oxygen plant, big tank in there. When LOX comes in contact with fuel, it explodes usually. All the port side jet fuel stations on the flight deck were busted off, and it was just raining JP5 jet fuel, and the LOX was spraying. The big hole busted in the LOX tank was spraying out right into it, and Chief Thiel came by, and we were supposed to be going back in Hangar Bay 2, which would be your abandoned ship or kiss your honey goodbye stations, And Chief Thiel came back, and I was just standing there on this side of those blast doors, those fire doors, looking through the door of this thing, watching the LOX spray out amongst all that fuel. Chief Thiel come by and says, "Hey, Stavely, get your butt back in Hangar Bay 2. This thing could go off." And my buddy Billy Bob Soleil hadn't gotten there yet, so I told Chief Thiel, I says, hang on a little bit, Chief. They'll be here, and Billy Bob, I called him, will be here, and he's never seen anything like this before.
Roger, Roger. Was that the end of the story?
That was pretty much it. I mean, either it blows up or it doesn't. I've got a picture in our cruise book of that particular year of we're in formation, standing on the flight deck, and commanding officers up on I don't know, maybe 08 level or something like that on the island, talking to us. And in the picture, and he's showing that, but what he was saying was, gentlemen, we really shouldn't be here today. About the time that picture was taken, but That was interesting. And we were all back in hangar bay, too, after Bill got there. And everybody's standing around waiting to see what the next command is going to be. Is it going to blow up or not? And on the overhead, around the edges of the hangar bay, there are these big sheet metal boxes, a big trap door in the bottom of them, and a cable hanging down from that with a D-ring on it. And I stuck my my wrist through the D-ring, and I'm just standing there. And one fellow said, these boxes contain life preservers, okay? In an emergency, you jerk on one of those and get your life preserver in case you have to abandon ship or something. So I went ahead and did that. Put my hand through it. Don't pull it, just put your hand through it. The guy asked me what I was doing, and I says, well, look, if that thing goes off, it's going to blast, it's going to blow the ship in this direction, okay? That's going to mean I'm going to be going in that opposite direction, and accidentally my arm will be attached to this D-ring, and one box of these life preservers is going to fall on the deck, and buddy, I'm getting one of them.
Roger, Roger. That's what I call contemplating disaster.
Well, it's either that or just wait for it. You might as well try to be ready. JAMES-WY4C.
KC9VKV. It's wondered the commander didn't say, gentlemen, kiss your whatever goodbye.
He was probably thinking that about that time. That was pretty frightening. That was a big hole. As you look at it on the internet, it doesn't look that large. But when you consider the fact that the size of the hole compared to the size of the ship, you know, the hole doesn't look all that huge when you're looking at it in the photograph. But consider that the ship is, 2.5 acres of hangar deck is where the hole was, and it's a 4.5 acres of flight deck. It's huge. When you stand down on the pier looking at a carrier, as far as you can see forward is the bow, and as far as you can see back is the stern, and it's literally, you turn your head that much just to take it in. It's humongous, you know. And that little hole was probably big enough to drive a truck through. You know, it was big. And the hole in the locks deal, that didn't last that long. It just blew through there, you know, and when it's empty, it's empty. 3 guys died in the locks plant. And the whole thing about it is not so much what I've told you. The thing is, when you're standing there, and I was one of the more senior guys in the shop at the time. I've been around a little bit. And when we made that hard starboard turn, they didn't have the collision alarm yet because they had to turn first, and then the collision alarm was an afterthought, really, because it was just that close. And when they made that hard starboard turn, I'm thinking, look, you don't do this for no reason. Things were flying across the compartment to the port side. We were making a hard starboard turn. I opened the door. I was right near the door anyway. That hatch going into the shop. There's 4 shops in that one room. So I stuck my leg through it to hold the door open because it's trying to close, you know. Centrifugal force, the ship turn. It's trying to close. And I was grabbing guys by the shirt collar and throwing them out the door because I knew something was fixing to happen. About the time I got the second or third guy out, then you start hearing ripping metal. And that's scary. I still remember that part as being scary because you don't know if the metal is ripping just aft of you or just forward of you. And we got lucky, and it was aft of us, and we weren't the compartment that got killed.
Roger, Roger. Now, did you have commemorative reunions after that with your ship buddies?
Oh no, the command I was in was a terrible command, and nobody wants to see one another again very much. There's a few guys that have a website on online, you know, on Facebook. They got a Facebook page, but just a few. A whole lot of them just. It wasn't a place full of good memories. Back in Vietnam, USS Saratoga, 1972, TA-105 was the particular squadron that I was in, TAD to AIMD, Aircraft Intermediate Maintenance Department. So anyhow, those were just real good memories. Fine people, good outfit, everything. It was just really, really nice, and that was good. I wish it could all been that way, but that's life. What can I say? And HC-1-2 was not a good deal at all. It was a messed up outfit.
Roger. Well, the main thing, you survived all of the adversities and lived to tell the tale, Roger.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it's fun when it's over. You know, when you get through it, you say, "Wow, that was cool." Up until the strange thing is, up until this past Thanksgiving, I never gave it a thought. But looking back on it, maybe that's what old age does to you.
Oh yes, yes. It makes you reflect upon life as you know, how lucky you were that things for the turn of a dime might have been totally different, and your life would have been ended at that point, Roger.
Oh yeah, that would have been, yeah. Squished by the wheel, I wouldn't have known what hit me. If the rock eye went off, I wouldn't have known what hit me, nor would anybody else on the hangar bay, 2.5 acres, you know. The fire, resulting fire because of all these rock eyes breaking all those fuel lines running overhead, that would have been a real mess. And then hangar bay 2 is full of 500-pounders, 1,000-pounders, and a couple of 2,000-pounders. And hangar bay 3 is all fins for all those bombs. So, oh boy, that would have made the Forrestal fire look like nothing.
Roger, Roger. Well, it's quite a tale there. You're extremely lucky. Like I say, could have gone the other way. In all those instances, there were very close calls.
Oh yeah, yeah, but pleasant memories though. It was surviving is a good thing. Pleasant memories. Oh boy, I was in a conversation like this years ago on 10 meters, and this voice came from the distance, and he said, "Would you guys just kind of release the frequency?" Had all these frequencies, only one of them was in use. So, would you? We're getting tired of you guys talking about the Navy and where you've been and stuff, because the guy that I was talking to, he was in the same place as I was, man. Back in those days, back in the 70s, he was in the same places. I could have bumped into him, you know, one of those things. And the other fella said, he told the voice in the background, he says, "Well, okay, we'll just stand by a little bit, and you can tell us about some of the things you've done, places you've been." And then there was just nothing but silence.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. What's the call sign there? I don't think I've got it.
JAMES-WY4C, James in Lexington, Tennessee.
Roger, Roger, James. Well, I'm certainly glad that you prevailed and that we've had this conversation, man, and really have enjoyed it, Roger.
Well, it's, I don't remember how we got into it now, but I don't know, just fun stories to tell. It was people, I guess people's opinion of what fun is differ, you know. I don't know. And also, I'm a Patriot Guard guy. If anybody knows what that is, we go to funerals of people that getting killed in active duty in Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever, and prevent demonstrators from aggravating the family, and veterans and state troopers and all that. Do their funerals too. And another weird thing about me, they said, folks said, "What do you do for a hobby?" And I said, "I go to funerals."
Roger, Roger, and the service you provide is much appreciated, and you should be very proud.
Well, I'm proud, all right. I'm proud of my Patriot Guard brothers. I love those guys, every last one of them, and I, for the life of me, cannot understand how in the world they ever decide to let me ride with them.
Roger, Roger, and it's just unfortunate that other people pick a moment like that to make a statement.
Yeah, that really makes you angry when you are in the group that's right down next to the demonstrators, and you, as a rule they have, you have to turn your back to the demonstrators. They'll be standing there with a flag laying on the ground, walking on it, spitting on it, and they're hollering obscenities to the family and all this. It's really, really tough. You can't do anything. The one particular occasion, there was a cameraman standing right in front of me, and his buddy, reporter, from I think they were from Nashville, I think, and he said, as long as nobody hits anybody, the camera will not be turned on. And that statement has stayed with me, and that helped me control myself. As long as the camera will not be turned on, as long as nobody does anything, just let them talk, don't hit nobody, everything will be fine. Nobody will ever know this happened, so that gets me through them.
Roger, yeah, but it's, it's a thought. Here's a person that has been involved in maybe law enforcement or in the military, that and serving their country, and then if on their demise, to have the family subjected to that kind of a demonstration. Those folks, well, Argentina would be a nice place to put those guys.
Well, even that one time when the guy was talking about not turning the camera on, somebody, one of the, well, what I call civilians, one of the guys from the town there. Now, you remember a lot of this stuff. The names of these fellas, deceased fellas, sticks with you, even though they stack up. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them. That was Frank B. Walkup's funeral in Woodbury, Tennessee. I don't know how long it's going to be before I forget that. But anyway, somebody talked about something they'd like to do to him, and I said, hey, I'm here to protect the family from seeing this stuff, and if anybody happens to do anything to anybody, I am not a witness. I didn't see a thing.
Roger, good approach. Well, James, I really enjoyed the Qso, sir, and I'm going to say threes down to you there, and you have yourself a real good afternoon. Thanks for the stories.
Well, yeah, sorry to bore everybody to death, but, hey, I get on a roll, you can't shut me up.
Good stories. Threes. I'll catch you later. It's KC9VKV.
See you later. WY4C.